Okay, so we're going to be talking about 3.7, ready, set, go, number 4. And what it says is divide using long divisions. And these problems have no remainders. If you get one, try again. So it says if P of X equals X cubed minus X squared minus 44X plus 84, what is the value of P of 6? Now, if you notice right above here, you were supposed to divide out, right? And then they already told you, right, that they want you to use long divisions, and these problems have no remainders. So the very first thing is I'm going to pretend that I didn't read that. I'm just going to divide this out. But you should kind of already know what the answer for this is. Okay. And if you don't, no big deal. Just hold on. So I'm going to divide, let's see. I'm going to divide X cubed minus X squared minus 44X plus 84, right? And we're dividing by X minus 6. Okay, and so remember, all we're doing is the same operations that you would do with division of numbers. A division of numbers, we need to divide, multiply, subtract, repeat. Okay, except for here, we're doing it with variables, so it feels funny, but it should feel very, very familiar. So the very first step I say is, hey, what is X times what gives me X cubed? And you guys all say, oh, Ms. Johnson, that's X squared. And I line them up above the X squared. You don't have to, it's not necessary, but I just do just because, you know, that's something that you guys did before. So X squared times X is X cubed, and X squared times negative 6 is negative 6X squared. And then I'm going to subtract. And because I'm subtracting, I'm really just adding the opposite. So I'm going to change everybody's signs. And then I know I did it right because X cubed minus X cubed is nothing. So once these go away, that means this is right. So then I'm just going to subtract or add whatever, however your brain says to do it. So this is 5X squared, right? And then I just bring everybody down. So I don't like to forget anybody. So I do all these things that make sure that I don't forget anybody. And then I repeat. So X times what gives me 5X squared. And that's plus 5X, right? And then I will multiply. So then 5X times X, well, that's 5X squared. And then 5X times negative 6, well, that's negative 30X. And I'm going to subtract, right? And because I subtract, then I'm going to add the opposite. So I change everybody's signs. Now, I've been looking at some of your guys' work, and one of the things that I noticed is you'll change the sign for the first guy, but you forgot about this guy. And then now your answer is all cuckoo and crazy. So if you tend to forget that, right, your job is to make sure that you check at the end by multiplying out, right? And I showed you guys how to do that. I also showed you how to check on Desmos. So use all those checks to make sure that your answer is right. Because I don't know, for me, I don't want to do all of this work and then get a wrong answer. I want to do all this work. Oh, shoot, I forgot I could check it, check my answer, figure out, shoot, I did something wrong, and then realize, oh, I just forgot to change the sign, and then do little tiny fixes. Okay, so then I'm adding. So this is negative 14X plus 84, right? And then I repeat. So then X times what gives me negative 14X? And you guys are like, oh, negative 14. And then I multiply, so negative 14X, negative 14 times negative 6 is, let's see, 6 times 10 is 60. 6 times 4 is 24, makes 84. And that's a positive 84. So notice here, when I write positive 84, I just write 84 because it gets all clogged up when I change my signs. And I'm going to be subtracting. So then I change all my signs. So I go adding everybody's opposite. So there, now he's negative, right? So then now I notice that this is 0. And it's supposed to be 0 because number one, they said it has no remainders. Look, no remainder. Yay, I did it right, right? So how does this number 3 relate to number 4? Well, if you remember, we talked about what the remainder actually means. And the remainder actually means it's the value of P of 6. It's the value of P of 6. It's the value of your root, right? So if your root is 6, then your factor is, or its factor is x minus 6. Does that make sense? So I'll say this a little bit slowly. So remember, if this guy is our root, x equals to 6, the line above that, when you're solving for that, would have been x minus 6 equals to 0. So therefore, x minus 6 is a factor of this, and 6 is the root. So these two we talked about yesterday are very related, right? They're very, very related. The factor and the root, it's almost like if you can get from, I don't know, I'm just going to make stuff up, from school to in and out, you should be able to get from in and out to school. So if you can get from school to in and out, then you should be able to get from in and out to school. And that's how those two are related, right? Okay, so what is the value of P of 6? Well, it's the remainder. So I'm going to write here, it's just my remainder, which they actually told you in the very beginning, it's going to be 0. But that's good because then we reviewed this whole thing. So one more time, when I divide and it comes out to be a 0, this 0, the fact that this is a 0 says, hey, you are a factor. And because 0 is the remainder and you are a factor, it means that this is a root, right? And because this is a root, then we can kind of say a bunch of things. But the whole point of this question here is, if P of x is this, what's the value of P of 6? Well, because these two match and x minus 6 is the factor and 6 is the root, I just have to look at my remainder, because remember, my remainder is equal to P of that value n, right? Whatever value you're talking about, x minus n. So there goes that. So this is how they're all related. If you don't have these relationships in your head, make sure they get in your head, because I can ask a question like this. Hey, if you know that P of 6 is 0, what else do you know? You should say like, x minus 6 is a factor of that polynomial. And then I would also know that the remainder is 0 when I divide by x minus 6. And then there's a couple other things that you can get as well. So thanks for listening.